The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, thanks for attending this evening's demonstration of EstimatorXpress. We should be underway in just a couple of minutes. Just going to wait for those that are getting logged in, and we should be underway very, very soon. Good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation. We're just after 7 o'clock, so I'm just going to give it a minute, just for those that are probably kind of getting in from work probably and getting their computers booted up and getting themselves kind of logged into tonight's presentation. For those that are here at the moment, just want to kind of bring your attention to the GoToWebinar software we're actually using tonight. For those that have maybe kind of used it before or attended one of our presentations or our webinars, there is a little control panel you can open up. There's a little orange arrow on your screen probably hidden. It hides the control panel. Certainly kind of use that control panel to, there's a little kind of question box. So we will have a Q&A session towards the end of tonight's presentation, but please do ask questions as we kind of go through tonight's demonstration, and we will have a Q&A session. I just want to make sure that everybody's kind of listening, so a little bit of an exercise. If you can tell me that I'm just by a question, just type something in the question box that I'm kind of coming through loud and clear. That would probably help me just make sure that everybody can hear my voice. Don't have to repeat this again. So as I said, we'll be underway in just a moment. Yeah, thanks very much. Got one coming through there, so that's great. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm kind of coming through all nice and clear. Fantastic. So yeah, we'll just be underway in just a moment, and we'll get into the EstimatorXpress. Okay, so yeah, everybody's kind of getting themselves logged in, which is great. So yeah, thanks for giving up your time this evening to have a look at the software. My name's Mark Brady. I'll be taking you through the software. Some of you have already kind of spoken to, so thank you very much for joining us tonight. Before we kind of get underway, just what I want to do, I'm just going to show my screen so everybody can see what we're going to be doing. Just before we get underway, I'm just going to throw up a bit of a poll for you guys to give me some answers, and it's really just to kind of get a collection of I guess, what your kind of business goals, what you're actually looking to kind of get out the software, really. You can answer more than one. I guess through the years of presenting the software and speaking to builders, I guess it's the case of are you actually looking to kind of save time, save money by outsourcing your kind of estimating, or actually make some more money. Maybe you're doing quite well, and it's just a case of maybe improving your margins and your overall cost. So click away, and I'll share the results in just a moment. Nearly there. Just waiting for a couple more people to vote. Right, so let me just close that for you, and I shall share the results. So what we've got, 100% of you definitely want to save time. 100% definitely want to save money by outsourcing your estimating. And obviously there are some of you who also want to make money by improving margins. So I guess that's the when it kind of comes down to it, really, with the software, it is a kind of a time saver. We've kind of polled our own kind of users and our own customers, and we actually find that you're probably saving on average between 60 and 70% of your time when it comes to estimating. So that's a massive chunk, and I guess when you're kind of saving time, you're also saving money in the long run anyway. But I do speak to a lot of builders, and they obviously kind of outsource to third parties to get their estimating done as well. So I guess it's being able to kind of take control. You're obviously going to get charged whether or not you win the job or you don't when you're kind of outsourcing. So this is a way that you can, as I say, kind of take control. And obviously kind of make money as well, and you'll be able to kind of see tonight in our presentation, you'll be able to certainly kind of improve your margins and get a better kind of handle on your costs overall. So I'm going to hide that now, and onto the software. So what we're going to be doing this evening, as the kind of title of tonight's presentation is about, we're actually going to be focusing on using the templates at our disposal within the software. There are a couple of other methods we can do when it comes to it with EstimatorXpress. My colleague Matthew Allen, who's going to be doing tomorrow's presentation, he's going to be doing a slightly different method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new job. Matthew's going to be doing a slightly different kind of method using our kind of Plans Express import. He's going to be doing a trace over of an existing plan and then feed that into EstimatorXpress and then price it all up. So if you want to kind of certainly kind of watch that tomorrow, that would certainly be kind of helpful. But what we're going to do, we're going to use this kind of option at the top here for the job templates. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on that option. So the software is actually going to throw up this little box. It's going to make it a little bit bigger so everybody can see. As you can see there, we've got lots of nice kind of 3D kind of visuals. These are all our kind of templates that we've built into the software. If you're doing an extension, I can filter using the filter at the top there just by clicking on extension, and then that will just filter all my extensions. Now on the top row we've got single stories, and then on the bottom row we've actually got double stories. Now obviously if the job does kind of fit one of these templates, then we certainly kind of encourage you to use one of these. There is also another method we can employ, which was the second option down. If we're actually doing a bit more of a kind of a custom build, it doesn't really conform with any of the templates we've got in the software. But also as well, what Matthew will be kind of showing tomorrow is the kind of takeoff method, which, especially if you've got a plan and it's got some nice returns, it's got some nice corner shapes, etc., doesn't really, again, conform with the templates. You can use the takeoff bit, trace over an existing PDF, and then estimate it. From this option here, we can also change the kind of wall finish. So this top right hand corner option, we can actually change it to a render block finish, and that just kind of changes the kind of 3D, gives it a slightly kind of more kind of render finish on there. And if you're doing a stone wall, especially down here in the West Country, especially in Bath, you've got your kind of Bath stone, etc. You can maybe kind of use a kind of a stone finish. I'm going to try and keep it really kind of nice and simple this evening. I'm going to be doing a brick, very traditional build. I can choose from different kind of roof shapes, if it's just an apex roof coming off there, or we might have a valley coming down, we're teeing it into an existing kind of roof line, or we might have a hip valley, hip abutment. I've also got the standard pretty much kind of lean-to single-story extension here, or if we've got a bit more of a kind of a mono pitch coming off, as well as flat roof extensions. Now we obviously, what's quite popular at the moment is a flat roof with the some kind of roof lights, some lanterns coming off it as well, so you can certainly kind of use that option. These are a bit more kind of corner infills, single story extensions, or we might have a flat roof kind of infill coming off the wall, or again with the roof light. These three here are a bit more of a like an L-shaped kind of wraparound kind of extension coming off the property, and you might be certainly kind of putting up some steels and stuff in there as well. Or if you've got a bit of an any shape, you can use the template with an any shape kind of single story extension. So that could be of any kind of shape or size. You can put the total amount of the length of walls in there, etc. And then we kind of get onto this kind of these kind of 2-story. So very similar to we've got a double-story lean-to extension, or we might have this one with a double-story with and also a kind of a lean-to coming off it. You can also, as well, if I was to do a lean-to here as my first template, within the estimate I can actually attach another template to the job as well. So a bit like Lego really, I can kind of block all this up and do some funky shapes as well if I want to. So there is that kind of option as well, but we're not going to be doing that this evening. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Let's say we're doing a lean-to single story extension and it's a brick finish. So all I do is click on that one, and then the software is actually going to load that template up. It does kind of throw up another little box in just a second. There we can see it's loading it up. Now, because the template kind of comes in with a couple of dimensions for height of wall as default, length and width, the software is already kind of calculating anyway based on the kind of defaulted dimensions, and you'll see here we will actually have a kind of a starting price, so to say, with the template once it kind of loads. As I said, if you have any questions as we kind of go through the demo, just fire away, and we'll have a Q&A session towards the end. So this is our kind of aerial view, our top-down view of our extension. We've got a little bit of an elevation view there as well. But what we've actually got here is the width of the extension is 3 meters by 6 meters. Now, you could obviously kind of change these cells, and you can change that to 5.5 if I want to. Now, keep an eye on that job cost. As I say, we've already kind of got a bit of a kind of a starting cost, because the software is already kind of estimating a 6x3, also with a 2.4 meter high kind of ceiling height as well. So if I was to change that one there to say 5.5, and I was to change, once I've made that change, keep your eye on there, it will kind of change the cost. So we're down now to 15.5, and if I actually increase that one by 3.5 and come out there, the little timer is now just calculating that. So we've now kind of changed that starting price. It's just over 17,000 now, and that 17,000 is actually estimating, if I could kind of drop that down, it's estimating materials, it's estimating labour, it's estimating all the plant, any subcontract prices, as well as any kind of sundry resources down here as well. All right, and we will have a look at the output once the estimate's kind of up and running. So 3 by 5.5. Now down here as well, the software is also allowing for plastering throughout the job as well. So anything that we're actually building new is going to be plastered. So the walls, the floor, roof, anywhere that the plastering is required is going to do. And also as well, decoration. Now if I wanted to, if I took the decoration off, you'll see here again, it's just going to recalculate that automatically and take the decoration off of the entire job. So we're now down to, again, 6.5. I'm going to put that one the kind of back in anyway. Okay, that's back in. Allowing the internal finishing to the external walls. The cavity wall foundation depth, we can actually go down to 900mm. Any kind of single skin walls we do with the foundation are going to go 900mm as well. As I said, we do have a kind of a ceiling height down here at 2.4 meters high, and the pitch of our roof is going to be 45 degrees. Now I can change the pitch of the roof if I want to. If I want to make that a little bit kind of shallower, we can take that down. So again, that's the kind of chopped off a bit of cost there. The tile lathe spacing downstairs is set to 300mm. The soffit width to the eaves downstairs is set to 200mm, and the soffit width to the gables downstairs is actually set to 150mm. So I'm quite happy with these kind of allowances here. Now the first thing on the list we actually look at is the specification. The specification is quite important. What it's doing is actually driving all the kind of rates within the software to actually do the estimating. It's actually picking up, because we're doing an extension, it's automatically adding what we call the extension specification to the job. Now the specification, I'm just going to click on here where we can actually edit the specification, and I'll show you what basically the specification is doing. Say for example on this this extension, it's actually a rear extension coming off the back of the property. Now we can't get any plant in to dig out the trenches. So down here, this section here, the extension specification is actually being set up to allow for a mini digger to actually dig out the trenches. But if we can't get the mini digger into that job, what I can do, I can change that to a manual labour dig. That would be the default within the extension specification, but I'm going to change it to a manual labour dig. Now the same for the brickwork. I can actually change the brickwork cost. I can put any cost of brick on there that I want to. If I put a 90p brick, I can change that. The roofing tiles, I can change at this stage. I can change it to a slate tile if that's what the client specified on the job and that's what they want. And same for the roof guttering. The guttering that we actually get in the extension specification is actually a plastic gutter. Now I can change that if I want to a zinc. I can change it to an aluminium. I can change it to a steel if I want to. I can even change the plastic if I want a rectangular gutter or a deep flow gutter. I can put that in there at 6 to 8mm. Decoration, maybe the client wants to do the decoration throughout the job. So what I can do here, I can actually put no decoration and set all the decoration resources to not be required. I'm going to leave them in though, just for this exercise. So by clicking OK, what the software is now doing is actually applying those changes throughout the job. And you'll see here, up here, it's actually increased the job just by over £1,000. And we can click OK. Once I'm quite happy with that, I can press complete, and then that will actually hide that section, and I can move on to the cavity walls. So that's the first on the list, the brick and block cavity walls. We did specify it was going to be a brick and block cavity, and I've also specified that we're actually going to be using a 90p brick. What we can do here is we can actually adjust the width and also the cavity, the wall width and the cavity width of this kind of section here. The software is actually allowing for Partel building regs, so that's why it's set to 340, 140. I'm going to change it back to 300 and 100. Now what's kind of going on behind the scenes, just to give you an idea of why it's estimating that cost. If I click on that button there, we call it DIMS, it just means dimensions. If I go into that section, this is actually telling me all the dimensions we've actually told the software to estimate for. So remember, it was 2.4 meter high wall. It's given me the total length of all the walls, 12.5. I can switch on these two little buttons here as well, and that will kind of give you an indication of what we're actually doing in that section. Gives you a little description. The gable dimensions, bear in mind, we said it was going to be a 25-degree pitch, so the lean-to gable is actually being measured up automatically based on the pitch of the actual roof. If I click next, that then kind of takes me into my foundation details. So this is the foundations that we're actually digging out by hand, and it's actually telling me the depth of the trench, the width of the trench, and bear in mind it's then kind of telling me the length of the trenches we're going to have to dig out. So that's why the software is going to estimate the ground worker gang to actually dig out the trenches by hand. It's also going to allow for a concrete fill in there. It's giving me the thickness of the concrete fill, which is going to be 500 mil. So the software will then know how much cubic meterage of concrete it needs to estimate. You'll see down here as well, because of the spoil we're actually going to dig out the ground, what it's then going to do is take that volume and it's then going to factor it up by 0.5. So it's actually going to factor it by 1.5. You'll see there plank and strut excavation is going to be no. I was also going to mention as well, you'll see here area of opening set to 0. Now you don't have to put anything in there. Once we start putting windows and doors into the estimate, that will then recalculate that area of opening and take away the brick that we're not going to require because of the openings themselves. And I'll show you that once we do it. Now because we're only going to go 0.9 down, the plank and strut, the shuttering is actually being set to no. I'm going to show you a change the software will again make automatically if you change something. This is the footing detail, so this is a kind of looking at splash course, depth. It's looking at your brickwork depth below the splash course. It's looking at the height of the blockwork to outer leaf below the DPC. It's looking at those cavity widths, the overall width, the cavity fill depth, the height of the blockwork. So all these kind of dimensions are already kind of programmed into the software. You don't have to sit there with a calculator anymore and actually working this kind of stuff out. It's already been programmed how to build a wall. It's going to insulate. It's going to put a separate DPC on there as well. And what it's also going to do, it's actually going to do the internal finishes. So it's actually going to plaster the blockwork. It's going to decorate the blockwork. We told the software we want to do the decoration. It's going to put a skirting board in there as well, and it's also going to prime and decorate that skirting board for me as well. Okay, so that's what's kind of going on with the dimensions. Now, I said I was going to show you something. Now, if I was to have taken my cavity wall depth from 900 to say 1.2, I'm going to make that change there. Price has gone up because we're actually obviously there's more kind of estimating going on there with the depth of the trenches. But if I just kind of pop in here now, you'll see there automatically the software has gone 1.2 meters down, and it's now actually added additional kind of concrete for the foundations. It's also put shuttering around the because based on health and safety requirements, if you go to a certain depth within the trench, there would be a required for shuttering, plank and strut excavation, putting in the additional kind of support. So these kind of things are actually based on the information you actually tell it. There will be some kind of automatic calculation at the heart of the software. So once the walls have been done, actually what I was going to show you as well, you'll see here we've got resources. What you can also do is click on that button if you want to. Now what that's now doing is actually telling you what material you're actually using from your price book that's going into the software. It's also showing the labour and plant as well. Do you remember we said we were actually going to excavate the trench using the ground worker? So we're actually kind of using the ground worker to actually dig out the trench. Now it knows how much cubic meterage we need to kind of dig out. The ground worker and mate is actually costing us within our price book £36 an hour. It's actually then estimating there's going to be 27 hours worth of work there. So it's actually going to be £108 per cubic metre, which is then going to work out a total cost, £972, because it knows how much the labour is, it knows how much you're going to do, and then it knows how many hours you're actually going to apply that cost, and that's going to work out £972. Same for the plank and strutting. If I go back to the material, it's then kind of allowing for these kind of sections and stuff here as well. Even in here, we've even got our kind of trench blocks. The software is estimating for the type of trench block we're actually using. And if I just kind of pop along here, do you remember we said on the bricks above DPC? Well, you'll see here when I kind of drop down my list, it's actually using that 90p brick down here. So the software knows if you've got a 35.7 square metre extension and your bricks are costing 90p and you're using 60 bricks for every square metre, it's actually working at your estimated rate is going to be £54 per square metre, which is a cost of just over £2,000. So it knows exactly how many bricks you're going to need to actually estimate. Same for the brick ties. You'll know how many kind of brick ties you need, how much kind of cavity insulation, how much coursing block, how many blocks, etc. And this is why it's kind of estimating the way that it is. The skirting boards, we're actually using the skirting board in there, and also the kind of paint and stuff as well. So you can actually change any of these kind of sections if you want to use a slightly different kind of skirting board. We're using a Taurus skirting board that's actually linked in with my software, and we can then kind of work out how much that's going to be. Or we've got this kind of skirting here, and then that will kind of work out how much skirting you're actually using for every 9.5 meters of skirting, and then it's actually then going to work out how much you actually need by the meter. So that's how it estimates the way that it does. Now you don't have to go into here every single time, but it just shows you the flexibility of the software. If you want to change any kind of element, any kind of material within the software, you just point, change, and it will even then kind of tell you how much you actually need at this stage. So once we've kind of done the walls, I can press complete. If I go to the floor now, so we've put the walls up, external, internal. We've then got the slab that's going into the job. Now if I go to the slab, I can change the slab makeup. I can change it from a ground bearing slab to an extension slab, ground bearing. We're actually insulating and we're actually reinforcing it as well. Again, it's recalculated that quite quickly. If I wanted to sense check it, I could do. It's telling me we actually need 17.15 square meters of slab. It's even then telling me the length of perimeter insulation is going to be 11.9. It's even going to kind of top and bottom reinforce that slab as well. And it's even then going to allow for the excavator 4 hours, plate compactor for a day, shovels, bolt croppers, vibrators, and also collection, number of deliveries and collection for the plant itself. Again, if I want to change the resources, I can do. I can change the top and bottom reinforcement. I can change the DPM. I can change the perimeter insulation if I want to. We can also put a screed finish on top, or what I can say to the software is we don't actually want to do any kind of screed finish. And as I said, always kind of keep your eye on that price. It always kind of changes every time we make a change to the estimate. Once we're quite happy with it, we can press complete, and then we can move on to the roof section. So within a couple of minutes, we've already kind of estimated the walls, the floor, and then we're on to the roof. Now, obviously, I'm doing a lot of kind of chit chat while we kind of go through, but if you didn't have the distractions and you were kind of going through this, you can get through it quite quickly. The roof itself, we can then specify whether or not we want to do it as a truss roof, or whether or not we want to do it as a cut roof. If we do it as a cut roof, we can then change the finish. We can actually, we can choose between insulating up and plastering up to a flat ceiling, or what we can do is we can actually go up to the rafters if we so choose as well. And again, if you want to sense check it, go into the dimensions. All it's doing is kind of showing you the kind of section through the roof, and you can see there it's actually estimating for the rafters, the purlins, the wall plates, the binders, the joists, etc. It will estimate the timber and roof strap details, eave roof ventilators it's picking up, cutting allowance to the rafters and fascias, the joist widths, the rafter widths, slope of the pitch, we said it was going to be 25 degrees, purlins, binders and fascias in there, joist sensors, we've all even got the kind of eaves length, the guttering details. So you can define whether or not your downpipe fixing centres are going to be 1.2 metres spaced. The guttering click fixing centres you can change, and you can even change the supplied length of gutter and downpipe as well you're actually getting from your suppliers. Tiling and insulation, it's going to tile across that whole kind of section. Do you remember we said we were actually going to go up to the rafters, so we're insulating up to the rafters. We're not going to, this is again for illustration, we do leave the kind of ceiling in there, but we're not doing any of the ceiling, we're actually going up to the rafters there, and that's then kind of tiling around here as well. So sand, cement, point, verges, proprietary rich fixing system. And then that's done. If I want to, I can go into resources, and if I wanted to change the tiles, just got to go along, find the tiles which are there, and we're actually got a natural slate tile, because we said to the software at the beginning of the estimate we want to do a slate tile to begin with. Now if the customer's actually got a slate tile they want to use, what I can do here, I can do a new resource. I can say, right, this is going to be the customer's kind of requirement. That's their kind of slate tile. We could actually call it, if we want to, Welsh natural slate tile, and we can call that Welsh natural slate. We can even take that out if we want to, on the quote, just put a customer friendly description. We can just call it a natural Welsh natural slate tile, so they can actually, rather than kind of giving it the technical name. It's going to take that off as well. Now we can then set our cost. Let's say they want to spend £2.20 because they've got money to burn. We're buying a minute price on each, and my supplier on this one is going to be a natural slate tile company. Click OK. It's going to cover the roof tiles. Delivery on that is actually 4 weeks, because it's slightly more expensive. What that then does is, in one of the reports, the material order schedule report, that will then tell me when I need to order the material based on the delivery terms. Also as well, the VAT rate, wastage allowances, and by clicking OK, we can then put our natural kind of a slate tile into the estimate. That will then be in my material price book, ready for me to use at a different time. You can see there, it's actually then just increased that because the cost of the tile was a little bit more expensive. Forming openings. Now on our extension, let's say we're actually forming an opening across here into an existing wall. So I'm going to openings into an existing wall. I'm going to create a medium or a large size opening. Number of openings is 1, and we can then say, right, well, that opening is actually going to go around to about 4.2 meters wide. Our pad stones required. You'll see in there as well, you've got your kind of lintel that's going on top, and we're actually going to plaster and decorate around the opening as well. And then we've got one opening in there we've just kind of created. So think about, yeah, you've got an opening into that existing wall, and that's done. Move on. What it's also going to do as well is plastering to the existing connecting wall. So that wall we're actually connecting the extension to. What we're actually doing is we're actually plastering, skimming the interior of the existing wall, replacing skirtings, and we're also plastering and skimming an exterior of an existing wall, and also adding skirtings as well. Press finish. External doors. So if we want to put any doors into our extension, there's a couple of options. You can either use the HPXL kind of templates, so we can put a bifold door in there if we wanted to. We can put a selection from aluminium, hardwood or softwood or UPVC. And what you can do is you can then put the cost of the door into the estimate for your own suppliers. That's quite easy to do. Or what you can do is we actually do link in with a company for those that are maybe kind of we've spoken to over the last few days about some of the features. We can actually go into a company called Crystal Direct. So I can put a supply. These guys actually manufacture the doors and the windows. So if I want to, I can put in the size of the bifold door. I can even put in the color as well if I want to. We are about to launch their aluminium range from within the software, so certainly kind of look out for that. So we can then choose the actual door. Now the cost there, the 2530, is the cost of the door you'll actually get directly from Crystal. Now Crystal supply merchants across the UK. They're the main supplier to TradePoint. They also supply Build Base for their and lots of small kind of independent merchants as well. So you may actually be using their products anyway. So we can actually choose that door, select the door. It will also estimate for the lintel. If I just kind of move that up, and it will also estimate for the cavity closer system. I can select that, and then we can select how many doors we want. We only want the one bifold, and click OK, and then that will put the bifold door into the estimate for me. What we can also do as well, if we want to put like a stone head above it, so I can choose the stone head itself, select it, just make sure that that's ticked, press OK, and then we've just put a finish on top of the bifold door. As I said, once we kind of do the doors, if I'm going to pop back up to the external walls, I'm going to go into the walls, and do you remember I said the area of opening is then already calculated based on me putting in windows and doors. And the same principle applies if we're putting windows in. We can either use the kind of stock windows from within the software, or we can use the kind of Crystal Direct windows. We can go to the range that they've got, if it's like a side panel door, or we might be doing a mock sash, and we can even put in, if it's going to be a center bar, I can put in the width. We can then put in the height, put in the U value, and then we can put in the color. So we've got a window in there, £230. Select the window, select the cavity closer, and the lintel. This time we're actually saying we've actually got 3 windows in our extension. Click OK. So it's going to take the cost of that window, obviously times it by 3, and then that's our kind of windows in. Again, if you want to put a stone head in there, we can do. It will select it, click OK. It's obviously going to put the 3 in there, and we can also put stone sills into the job as well. So you can see here, all it really is following the instructions and following the software. And if I again pop back up to my my external walls, you'll see there it's then put additional area of opening into the walls. So we're kind of building this price up, 23,178. We've done the doors, we've done the windows, roof windows. Now obviously on this extension, it's a lean-to, might have some Velux windows going in there, so we can pop in some Velux windows. So we can decide on how it's going to open. It's maybe going to be a center pivot, it's going to be a manual opening mechanism. The width is 942s by 1178s. They're going to be white painted, and we're going to have some extra low energy glass. Now that £506 is actually a price we get from the Velux window website. Now you've got the option of actually changing that anyway if you want to. If you can get them cheaper from the supplier, or you get them somewhere else, you can kind of pop a slightly kind of different price in there, and then you can say to the software how many Velux windows you want, and that's also going to form the openings and stuff in the roof, so it'll take the kind of tile and stuff away as well. So that's the Velux windows done. Now if you do have any kind of partition walls that are kind of, maybe you're kind of partitioning here, or you're building a couple of internal walls, you've got a choice of doing internal cavity walls. Now these are all kind of set to 0, so they're not being estimated at this stage. You might have some internal solid skin block walls, or you might have some partition walls for stud walls going in, and they're all kind of set to 0. But again, if you have any kind of solid partitions and you've got foundations, or you might be building it off the slab, so it's got 0 foundations, you can then just put the total length of internal wall you're actually doing in there. And again, if I want to, I can go into the dimensions, and then that will you'll see here is zeroing out all the foundation details. It's not allowing for that because we're actually building it off the slab, and then that's done. That's our internal block walls done. If you're doing any sleeper walls, just hide that one as well. We don't need any sleeper walls in this job. Internal doors, we can pop in a couple of internal doors, 762s. We're doing it into block work. Maybe we've got 3 doors in there. Click OK. And then we've got our kind of our walls done. So again, we're up to just under £30,000. Now, that cost there isn't including any kind of profit or VAT. This is purely kind of material and labour and plant cost at this stage. This is the build cost. All right. Now, what we can also do as well, the fact that we've actually kind of done on our extension, we've maybe kind of partitioned the wall there. So maybe we've got a couple of walls, a couple of rooms that are around about maybe kind of 2 by 3.5. Now what we can do is we can set out the actual rooms themselves. We said we were actually going to go up to a vaulted ceiling, so I'm going to put a rectangular room in here. This is actually going to be a breakfast area we're actually doing for the client. We're actually going to say this is going to be 2.25 and the width is the 3.4. Height is going to be 2.4. The pitch of the roof was 25. Now what I can do, I can then add a group of electrical items to a breakfast area. What it does, it kind of, where is it? Kitchen utilities. It selects a breakfast area template for electrical items. So if I just kind of scroll down, what it's doing is popping in ceiling rows, it's popping in a kind of a light switch, and it's also popping in a double socket. I can, if I want to, put 2 sockets in there if I want to. And electrical sockets, maybe you want another one with a USB. We're actually going to do a single socket with a USB for downstairs and actually add a little kind of extra one in there. Same for the internal lighting. I can put in pull switches if I want to, strip lighting, unit lighting, down lights as well if we want to. We can pop them in there. We don't necessarily just have to use these ones. And if I want to take the ceiling rows out, I can do. We can also do the same for the plumbing items as well. We could actually say we want a soil stack, or we want a primary plumbing circuit, or it could just be a bathroom and cloak. You might be putting in a 4-piece. So we might be doing, and I'll do that in just a second, in that kind of other rooms, breakfast area, select OK. So based on a 7.65 square meter breakfast area, what the software is actually going to do, if I scroll down, it starts adding a radiator in there, and also the items that are kind of going with the radiator. So that's closed, and what I can then do is actually add another room. This time our room's now going to be, that was a breakfast area. This could actually be, let's say it's going to be an ensuite bathroom. Click OK. So again, our bath, maybe that's 2 by 3.5. And what we could do is put in electrical items for an ensuite bathroom. And if I just scroll down once that's been added, so what it's doing now is based on that room type, it's actually now giving me bathroom electrics, it's giving me an extractor fan, a shaving light socket, and also a shower circuit, as well as pull switches and a WC kind of light fitting. And for my plumbing, I can go in here. If I go into other rooms, and this is going to be, I thought they had an ensuite. Oh, here we go. Within this little, I can do a little basin in a room connected with an external soil pipe. Or if this was going to be a little kind of ensuite, I could do a little kind of 3-piece kind of bathroom. just thinking about it. So if I scroll down, we've now got the kind of 3-piece here. I can go into edit dimensions, and I can even put in the cost, allowance for the bath, the basin, the WC, if it's got a bidet, or you've actually got a shower there, but we're only using a kind of a 3-piece in here. Might just be the basin and the WC we need, so I could even kind of take the allowance for the bath out at this stage if I wanted to. And it's even then kind of putting in my kind of pipes, radiators, radiator tails, and the waste pipe fixings. So what we've then done is created 2 rooms that are going to be part of my extension. And as well as that, speak to a lot of builders, they're doing the extension, and what they've also got is a room that they maybe need to kind of go and do some renovation on. So I could be setting the bedroom up. Maybe we need to kind of go up to the bedroom. We can add existing openings in there. We could add the height of the opening. We could say it's going to be an internal door. The height could be 1.2. The width could be 900s. And I can say that it's going to be an internal door and windows. And what I can then do is actually go into the renovation section of the room. I can actually go into an internal renovation of the room. We can actually hack all the walls, replaster, skirt, cornice, picture radial, dado, and decorate. And then we can start treating that room with the renovation calculators. So it's giving me the total area of the room, and it's giving me that door that we've just kind of put in there as well. We can also remove architraves, we can remove threshold strips, we can remove skirting. Any kind of windows, I could form the opening here and put the window sizes in. We can even kind of create an opening into this room. Maybe we're kind of knocking it through and creating a walk-in kind of wardrobe. And also the ceiling details we can then renovate as well. So what we've actually then got is actually 3 rooms. This bedroom we're actually using to renovate, and these 2 bedrooms we're actually building new. You can see there we're up to 34 or just under 35,000 for the job. Now you do have kind of plastering and decorating calculators down here if you want to add them. If you do, this is really for any kind of existing kind of elements of the build, because we've already plastered and decorated throughout all the new stuff. But if you do like a plastering and you do a complete room plaster, the software will kind of throw up, would you like to prefer using one of the rooms? If you do, yes, we can actually go into that bedroom there if we wanted to completely replaster, but we've already done an internal renovation, so there's no need. But it might be a new room you're actually adding to it. Could be an L-shaped room with a flat ceiling, could be the kid's bedroom or something. So we could actually go into bedroom there. Or it could be a master bedroom we're actually doing. And again, that will then kind of take in all these kind of dimension sizes, and then we can just go into the plastering for that actual room, add a calculator, complete room plaster, and then we can do either a typical room plastering and insulation, or I might be just doing a typical room renovation where we're just skimming it. And then we can just accept defaults once you kind of use the software a number of times, and then we can add build up the room tools and spec out all the rooms if you need to. So we don't really need the plastering at this stage, nor the decoration, so I'm just going to press complete. You might be putting in some structural beams. Obviously a lot of extensions these days, we've got our kind of goalposts, the kind of beams and stuff that are kind of going throughout, so we can drop them in if we want to. If we want to put some steel posts in, we can do. We're not going to do it on this job. Any kind of walling sundries, you might be cladding, you might be putting in a chimney, you could be doing some feature brickwork on the outside, so we could put in some single brick quoins into the job, and then we can do the brick quoins as well. So that's all done. Renovation and demolition. We can do the renovation using the room tool, but if you're actually demolishing walls, maybe you're taking a wall down, so it's a small area of an external wall, so this will also allow you to kind of size up the section, rip up the foundations, and then put in how many days, etc. You're going to need your mini digger to actually kind of dig it all out, or breaker. So yeah, there's extra planting that's going into demolishing that wall that you've got. Plumbing we already did anyway in the room, so I'm not going to kind of do that section. But this also has additional stuff where it's actually got underfloor heating. Maybe you're putting underfloor heating within the extension, so you can actually add underfloor heating if you're doing it into a floating floor, or maybe you're doing it into screed, or you may be doing it into a joist. You can kind of pop some underfloor heating in there, connection to a heating primary source, and then that will you can put in the size of the underfloor heating you've got, and then that's the pipe connections, additional connections. So if you've got like a thermostat that's going in there as well, you can add that to the job as well. So there's a lot of detail kind of goes into the software. Same for the electrics. We've already done the electrics throughout. Fitting out, maybe you're putting down a laminate floor for the client. Again, we can use the room tool if you want to. I'm just going to put no here. I'm going to put in a mid-range laminate floor for the client. Then that will pick up. We can set that out to whatever dimensions we want to. We'll put in the underlay, and then that will kind of price that one up for me. Right, let's see. Something I probably need to do once I go into the estimate is specify the supplier of the actual wood laminate floor. So I'm going to press complete there. Drainage, we could be doing some drainage outside. I can add a group of items for drainage. It may be that we're doing a foul drainage on an extension with a back inlet gully, one soil and vent pipe connected to 2 shallow access chambers, and then we can press OK on that, and then that will do all our guttering as well, our drainage as well. And then what it's doing is putting them in my drain runs, putting in the drainage, soil pipes, etc. And I'm quite happy with that. Check it through, press complete, move on. External works, maybe we're doing some block paving, could be tarmac in a drive, so we could be doing external works, could be doing some landscaping for the client, could be putting in some decking, or we could just be doing some turfing and stuff. Maybe it's an extension that's going to go out into maybe into a garden. We can actually do that section for them as well. We're getting really down to the end of the job. Preliminaries and sundries. What we can do is actually go into site establishment, travel costs, scaffolding. So we can put these in as a cost. Our scaffolding, typical small single-story extension scaffolds, and then that will give me allowance for number of lifts, length of the table lifts for the gables if required, number of weeks hire, number of weeks scaffold may be in use, percentage any kind of charge for additional weeks hire, and any kind of allowance for any kind of sundries. So that's done, and then we can establish the site, establish a medium extension shape, and then that will allow for a toilet, cabin, security fencing. If you want to clear the site, there is actually a separate workbook that allows for the clearance of it, so it's all kind of set to 0, but you can do it in here. Also the size, if I want to put in there, it's the 50 square meters of site. How many days, how many months you're going to have your skip permit, insurance costs, maybe want to kind of take that up a little bit. Site security, maybe want to kind of charge a bit more there. Health and safety costs, might just want to put a bit extra on there as well. Traffic regulation, and then travel costs. Obviously, you have to kind of get to the site. So we could be working out, if we've got a large van, how many miles are we actually going to run on this across the course of the job. Could be about 700 miles. Maybe we've got a little small van as well that's doing 3. For those that are maybe kind of working out of London, congestion charges, how many days do you think we'll actually have that? Could be running on, I don't know, 60 days or so. And that's going to put the cost into the job, so we can do the preliminaries here. If you've got any kind of subcontracts, maybe we're doing like pile foundations, or you get an electrician in to do the contractor, or even a decorator, you can put them in there. But maybe we've got a kitchen fit coming in, used to fit kitchen. If I spelt it right. Cost allowance. Maybe we're allowing a couple of £1,000 for that, and the build phase is going to be internal fit out, internal fitting out. So we can actually put an allowance in there for the kitchen. It's probably costs a little bit more than that, but you can put any amount in there that you see fit. And as I said as well, once we get to the bottom of the estimate, additional templates, say we're putting a garage in here, I can then just load up another template for a garage and then slap a garage on the side of the extension and get that kind of priced up. Okay, so pretty much everything's been completed on this section. We've got a cost there of 46,703. I can even put in any kind of assumptions into the estimate, any emissions that we want the client to be aware of when it comes out on the quote. Any provisional sums we can actually add to it as well, if you want to kind of include them, and also as well the kind of client's kind of contact details, which for some reason isn't opening up. So that price there. On here we can then have a look at, on the left hand side is our kind of build program. So I'm going to take away any of the kind of unused build phases. We haven't estimated any of these kind of sections like landscaping, etc. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go to my commencement, and I'm actually just going to kind of push that up a little bit. Commencement, going to start week 1. So we've actually then got a job that's going to be starting 29th of July, and then it's especially with the demolition and stuff, and it's going to end around about kind of November time. So we can actually give the client an idea of how long the job is actually going to take. All important as well for the outputs. We've got our quote. So click on the quote section. That would open up. So I've already uploaded my own company logo into this. So this is our quote. I haven't got any of the kind of client's details in it at this stage. If I just kind of scroll down, that's the kind of covering letter. Now you can change the covering letter by clicking on that section there. And then what you'll actually have is on the right hand side, this will then kind of open up, and you can change what's going to be on the kind of covering letter. Sorry, that one there, not the covering page, the covering, the actual letter. So this section here, you can then kind of change that to whatever you want it to be. If you had any kind of provisional sums, they would then be in this kind of section here. We haven't got any at this stage. Also the summary, so that will actually kind of show a kind of a breakdown for each kind of section. So we've actually got a price here because it's then including the VAT. So we've actually got a job here, 75,660, and it's also going to include your kind of your markup. One thing I was just going to ask as well, just so hopefully we've got everyone's kind of attention. Just going to ask what kind of markup you're actually kind of putting on a job. So I'm just going to launch another little poll, make sure you're all still awake. So just take a couple of seconds just to put the kind of markup you've actually got that you kind of put in onto a job. So it can be 10 to 20%, maybe 20 to 30%, or it might be 30% plus, or maybe you just don't know. I speak to a lot of builders who probably don't really know. What they probably do is put a bit of a flat fee on it, but they don't really know what the percentage is of the actual job. So just going to collate those kind of responses. So it's going to close that poll. I'm going to share with you. So just going to make that a little bit bigger on my side. So yeah, I mean, 60% of you are probably putting in between 20 and 30%. Yeah, which is pretty kind of standard, I think. Certainly, no one's putting in more than 30%, and no one's putting in less than the kind of 20% anyway. And yeah, 40% of you don't know. So again, as I said, some of you might put a kind of a flat a flat figure on, and it just doesn't work out. So what you've actually got on here, if I go under my kind of job settings, you'll actually see here, this section here, overhead, profit and inflation. So what I'm doing, I'm actually putting on a markup here. You can see there, I'm already kind of putting 25% profit on my job. Oops, sorry, one sec, I've got to hide that. There we go. So yeah, you can see that now. What I've got is I've actually got a split between overhead, profit and a total markup. I'm actually marking up by 35%. The running overhead of my company, I've just put in it around about 10%, and how much money I want to make is around about 25%. So I've actually got a 35% markup on my quote. What we can also do as well is we can actually put an inflation rate in there as well, because the job's not going to be starting till July. By the time we start building, I mean, it's not going to finish till November. Halfway through, material prices could be going up 2 or 3%. So what I've actually factored into the job as well, and I've actually put a delay on there, is a 2% across the board as well. So the cost there for my kind of written quote, if I open that up again, if I just go down to my my summary, that's including all that cost. So my markup, my percentages, my wastage, my materials, my labour, my plant, everything's kind of going into that 75,660. So I think we were estimating a job where it was around about 37 square meters. So I guess asking the question is, how much would you have estimated for a 37 square meter kind of job? Where would that kind of come out on yours? What we can also do as well, we can actually show the summary after the breakdown at the bottom. So I can kind of make that change if I want to. So if I went back into my overall kind of quote, I'm just going to kind of scroll down it so you can kind of see it. So I can kind of scroll down here. Just going to hide that a little bit. So that's the kind of covering letter, and then it starts going into each kind of build phase section, commencement of the job, the site setup, the foundations, and then it starts going into the material costs, not material costs, sorry, the build phase kind of sections. It's giving us a small kind of description of the materials, oversight and slabbing, how much is that costing, what are we using. So you can actually show them a nice kind of detailed quotation. The drains, do you remember we kind of estimated the drains, so it's kind of given all the so you can then justify the price that you're estimating is because these are the materials we're actually using throughout the job. Just trying to find the where's my tiles? Roof tiling. So remember we put in the Welsh natural slate tile, so that's the description they kind of get on the quotation. All the joinery is done. Electrics are done. All the kind of bathroom electrics are done. The breakfast area that we've estimated. The plumbing for the breakfast area. The ensuite bathroom is done. The actual extension itself. Underfloor heating, the plastering throughout. So it's quite a lot of detail there, as you can kind of see. It's 38 pages that's actually produced. Now, if you're having to either type or write all that kind of stuff out, then yeah, you're probably crazy, especially if you're trying to do something that detailed. And then we've got our kind of summary now at the bottom of the page, and then they get a copy of the acceptance of the estimate, and then you get a kind of a copy as well. That can all be signed off, and then also your terms and conditions. Now, if you want to kind of change your terms and conditions, just go to that section, copy and paste, and then include that as well. So hopefully just over the hour running through the software. Certainly with me kind of chit-chatting away, if I was probably doing that myself, I could probably put that to bed goody maybe half hour, 45 minutes with a little bit of kind of detail on specifying certain materials for the client. And if you want to know how much money you're actually making, I can go to my sales price, including overheads and profit report. I can open that up, and then that'll have my report, which I can then export into Excel if I want to. If I want to use if that's I kind of use it. I know I use it a lot. I even do it like house budgets and stuff. It does come in handy. But that's actually telling you there. You've actually then got the build phases and what the total cost down here. So my overhead is going to be 4,670, and my actual profit I'm making on this job is going to be £11,675. That's the total cost there, including profit and overhead, but excluding VAT. Okay. So I'm probably going to wrap up. It's been probably a good hour. As I said, I'm going to be kind of hanging about. So if you do have questions, please feel free to kind of fire away, and hopefully I'll be able to kind of answer those before we all kind of chip off and have our tea. So yeah, I will be hanging about, but yeah, thanks for your attention, and we'll hopefully get some questions before everybody gets off. Okay, first question of the evening. Thanks for throwing it out there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a couple of methods when we kind of do the estimate. I'm just going to go back to my dashboard. I'm going to save this job. If you do go back to the dashboard, you'll see here it will kind of save onto your save a single file onto your PC. Just going to go back to my little dashboard. Because we use Crystal, by the way, it's asking me just to kind of throw the quote their way. So that's our job there. Obviously, I'm doing really well. I've got 100% win rate. You can actually mark the jobs down as kind of outcomes, so you can actually see what your win rates are. It'll also tell you that you've got 3 jobs coming up soon based on the start dates. If you're doing a new job from here, and as I said, there is a kind of couple of methods to do it. Tomorrow night, you're going to be shown how we do it with PlantExpress. If I've got a kind of slightly kind of smaller job, I'd be using this kind of option here. Where we're actually doing it as a kind of a custom job. Now, when we get kind of, we haven't really kind of got the template anymore. Now, what I'm doing a custom build. So I'm going to go, or even if it's just a renovation, let's do a renovation because that is a kind of a smaller kind of project you may be doing. So that's just going to load that up a second. Now we're starting at 0, all right. Now what I can do is it will kind of give me all my kind of sections here once it loads. I can use the renovation spec. You see there now we're using a renovation specification. If we're just doing, as a guy kind of said to me today, it might not be all he wanted to do was internal walls we're actually doing internal timber frame studding. That's all we're doing. That's all he wanted to do. So I could just do that. I could just do an internal timber frame panel and price it up. Just go through the motions, put in my dimensions, and then that's done. I could go down and let's have a look. I could set out my rooms. I could just use it just to do the rooms. So if we are just doing a rectangular room with a flat ceiling, again using the it could be a bedroom for the client. Again, I could be doing just plastering in that room. I could be doing just a fitting out in that room. I could be putting down an engineered wood floor, or I could just be doing some vinyl floor in that particular room. And you see there, you can then put in the dimensions, and then it will just do. So if I just wanted to do that and stop there, then I could have done. You can do different levels of jobs. I mean, the software it would do everything from just hanging a door up to kind of building a new build. It really, I mean, it's really just full of calculators. I mean, I think the last count is probably about 300 to 350 calculators. I can't remember. All different kind of versions and stuff. If you're just doing decoration in here, even if you're just doing an external window decoration, and that's all you were doing, or just skirting boards and other mouldings for a wall. Again, it'll ask me if I want to use the room tool. I'm going to say no. But if we were just cornicing only, I could use. I mean, I've been doing some decoration here at home. I could have used this just to kind of tell me the size of my room. Could have measured it all out, and it would have told me how much it's going to cost, really. So hopefully that answers that particular question. What it does on the timber frame is it will do an internal timber frame wall or stud, and then it will do the external finish as like brick and block. You would actually use what we call the timber frame specification. So when you kind of do the wall, it will do all the external kind of brick or block, and then the internal side of it, it will only kind of set to 0. And then what you do is you actually then add the internal kind of timber frame. We've got a sister company who actually does a little bit more on the timber frame, which we're looking to adopt into the software. So we'll actually be doing kind of pure timber frame walls with clad, etc., and how they kind of go together. Yeah, the subcontract price, I'll just kind of scroll down to the bottom here. I can do it in here. If I go into a specialist contractor and then just put in here the actual allowance, I could put in £5,000 there for specialist contractor. Maybe it's pile foundations, and I could actually then allow that to foundations as a build phase and put that in there, and then that then appears on the quote under that build phase as a specialist contractor. But you can actually go into the back end of the software and actually modify the subcontractor prices. So yeah, I mean, the thing is the software, you can even kind of create from scratch your own kind of sections. You can put in what we call a composite item workbook, and you can actually add labour, materials, plant, and actually kind of create your own calculators in here. So if you don't have it, you can kind of create it, really. We've kind of allowed just a little bit of creativity and stuff on the software. So that job's now going to be saved, and it's there in your library ready for you to have a look at or produce a quote and do the job. Yeah, I mean, within the library, you've actually got under your price book, that price book there is one I've actually created. So within the library, I can actually copy that, what we call the master price book. The master price book's broken down into these sections. If I go into labour, the actual prices, these are kind of default prices. Now these are a guide price. If I speak to 10 builders, they're all going to kind of give me 10 different prices from different regions. Now what you can do, I can actually kind of select all my kind of prices. If I want to select every single one in here, and then right click, edit resource, and what I can then do is I can actually pump up my prices by 10%. Now what that's doing is actually taking all those kind of prices. Now I'm just going to go back up to the top a minute. You'll see there we've taken that £65 an hour for 2 brickies and a mate, increased it by 10%. It's now £71.50. So you obviously kind of see down here, electricians are in there around about £27 an hour. I've increased it now to £27.70 an hour. And I've probably got a plumber down here as well at around about £30 an hour. Again, I've just kind of increased it. So I can kind of create multiple price books off my master price book, and I can call them whatever I want, and I can adjust, deflate or inflate the prices as I want. With regards to material prices, we kind of use a really funky algorithm, and what we do is we have a look around the internet, look at merchant prices, what they're actually advertising their prices online for, and then work out what the average is. So one of the ones I kind of use is obviously kind of aggregate. Building sand from TradePoint is around about £34 a tonne, but we've actually got the average one in here. Where is it? I think it's at the top. Building sand bulk bag we've got in around about £41 a tonne. Speaking to a lot of builders at the moment, they're probably spending between certainly £37 to £42, £43 a tonne. Cool. Hopefully that, and that's why it's estimating the way that it does. It applies the material, how much material, and then works out based on the size of the job how much it's going to cost. Cool. So I think I've answered the majority of the questions that have actually kind of come in. I'm going to go off and have my tea. As I said, thanks for attending. We do like kind of showing the software. We've been selling the software for the last 20 years. It's not like we've kind of started selling it yesterday. So we've certainly been kind of selling into this market for the last 20 years. We have changed a lot of builders' lives when it comes to pricing. It's a headache in itself. We've probably made the money as well in going forwards. So we do kind of enjoy kind of showing the software off because it does work. Marc's going to be showing tomorrow's demonstration. That's a slightly kind of different method using PlanetsXpress. That's a bit more exciting than me kind of chit-chatting away to you guys. So you'll get the estimating side of it. So do attend if you can do. And we will certainly kind of be in touch over the next few days, just kind of get some feedback and stuff on tonight's presentation. But yeah, thanks for attending. Thanks for giving up your busy evenings, and hopefully it's time well invested, and we'll hopefully speak to you in the next few days and see how we can move forward on it. So yeah, have a good one, and we'll speak soon.